The iPhone 16 Pro Max is one of the most actually pro iPhones ever. In this video, we're going to explore all of its new features and changes. So kicking things off with the camera, as that's undoubtedly the biggest area of change. Of course, all the iPhone 16 models have the new camera control button that allows you to instantly open up the camera app with just a click of a button and start snapping photos instantly. You could also adjust a handful of features like your zoom level and switching between different lenses, all from the new interface that's centered around using this touch-sensitive and clickable button. And while I do like being able to just press this button to quickly open up the camera app and use it as a shutter button instantly, beyond that very simple function, actually trying to use this camera control interface to change camera settings is far more cumbersome, frankly, than just using the on-screen controls that have been there from the beginning. As much as having this dedicated camera control button interface is not a bad idea by any means, I think Apple's current implementation needs some work, as again, it doesn't really improve upon the existing on-screen controls that much in terms of saving time or accessing things quicker. So let's hope Apple improves upon this with future software updates. And one of the biggest upgrades the 16 Pro models got this year is the 4K 120 frames per second video recording capability, which allows you to capture incredible high-resolution slow-motion videos, which capture a lot more detail than the previous 1080p 120 frames per second maximum that the 15 Pro Max and earlier had. You can also adjust the frame rate of a 4K 120 frames per second video after you've shot it, which is great if you're unsure if you want to use the footage in slow motion or not. Another noteworthy upgrade for the cameras on the 16 Pros is the new 48 megapixel ultra-wide lens. On the 15 Pro Max and earlier, it's just been a 12 megapixel ultra-wide lens. This will result in sharper and more detailed wide-angle shots and up-close macro shots. And one of the best new camera improvements for camera aficionados coming to actually every iPhone 16 model is Apple's latest generation photographic styles, which provides much more granular control over the way your photos will look. This is customizable both before and after taking photos. Certainly a lot more customization than was available on any previous iPhone. And this is a result of Apple's new image processing pipeline that they use to better distinguish different parts of an image from one another, therefore enabling better application of adjustments to specific colors and elements. This is a welcome addition, as a lot of people have complained about Apple's very heavily processed default photo processing mechanism on the iPhone, so this allows us, the users, to basically choose, with again a lot more customizability than ever before, how the photos are going to look. And also, the 16 Pro Max's camera lenses now have a new anti-reflective coating, which should hopefully help reduce lens flare. Here's some photos taken on the 16 Pro Max with its main 48 megapixel lens that outputs 24 megapixel shots by default. And by the way, none of these photos have any photographic styles edits applied. They're just using the default standard mode. And yeah, it outputs fantastic iPhone photos that you'd expect in 2024 with the default image processing mechanism Apple uses, where all areas of the photo are very sharp and bright. And also here's a video taken at 4K 60 frames per second as well. And if you're picking up a new iPhone 16, you're going to want to make sure it's protected with a strong case. And today's sponsor, Just One Name, offers a minimalist, colorful, and durable iPhone cases. There's a handful of bold color options available that all feature a raised luggage pattern on the back for a unique touch and look. These cases feature bumper strips on all four corners and feature a raised lens frame for the cameras. And they're designed to fit very snugly, all to ensure strong protection of your iPhone. They're fully MagSafe compatible with double magnetic strength. They feature a satisfying soft touch finish, providing a comfortable grip and ergonomic feel. Just One Name's mission is to blend fashion with eco-consciousness. And staying true to that claim, they use eco-friendly packaging that they've designed to be repurposed into a durable storage container. They even have instructions on how to convert the packaging into the storage container printed right on the packaging itself. The cases also come in these very good looking felt bags that are secured with a button instead of plastic bags. These felt bags are also very reusable, especially for storing older iPhone cases you aren't currently using. Just One Name actually plants a tree for every single order they receive, as they've partnered up with eco-organizations to promote sustainability and forest conservation. I'll leave a link to where you can check out the Just One Name iPhone cases in the video description down below. Big thanks to Just One Name for sponsoring this video. So as you'd expect, the 16 Pro Max features a new A18 Pro chip in comparison to the previous generation A17 Pro chip that the 15 Pro Max has, which, as you'd expect, features some nice processing power and efficiency improvements over the previous generation A17 Pro chip, such as an up to 15% faster CPU that's capable of delivering the same performance with 20% less power. Also, Apple Intelligence features can run up to 15% faster. Apple Intelligence being Apple's upcoming set of AI features that are going to be rolling out starting this month. And the GPU can also run up to 20% faster, and hardware acceleration can perform ray tracing up to 2 times faster. The 16 Pros also feature a new thermal design that enables up to 20% higher sustained performance. So of course, these processor differences from one generation to the next is not going to yield any difference that you're actually going to to notice when doing typical day-to-day tasks on your iPhone, but when you're pushing your iPhone to its limit in very heavy use case situations, that's when you might notice an improvement, and also it'll help with the longevity of your device over the next several years. And circling back to Apple Intelligence for a second, even though Apple has made a really big deal out of highlighting Apple Intelligence as the headlining feature for the 16 Pros, it's very important to note that the previous generation 15 Pros also fully support Apple Intelligence. With all the writing tools, the smarter version of Siri, notification summaries, image generation, and more. The only Apple Intelligence feature that's exclusive to iPhone 16 models is a feature called Visual Intelligence. That's going to be activated with a press and hold of the camera control button that allows you to then point your iPhone at restaurants, objects, flyers, pets, and get information about whatever you pointed it at instantly, and then take actions like making a reservation at a restaurant or adding an event to your calendar, for example. So other than this, literally every other Apple Intelligence feature is coming to last year's 15 Pros, so don't let the marketing fool you. Just to clarify though, it's only last year's 15 Pros that are going to be getting full Apple Intelligence support. The standard iPhone 15s from last year will not be getting any Apple Intelligence support. And something else strange that I alluded to earlier is the fact that none of these Apple Intelligence features are actually available yet on any iPhone model publicly. The first set of these features is going to roll out in iOS 18.1, which should be coming out within the next few weeks here, and then the remainder of the features will steadily start to roll out with subsequent software updates from there. So it's not only odd that Apple's marketing Apple Intelligence as a new feature for the 16 Pros when the previous 15 Pros have it, but in addition to that, it's not even available yet publicly on anything. So very weird. Of course, I can't comment on the usability of Apple Intelligence yet, so we'll just have to wait and see as those features start to roll out to the public pretty soon here, hopefully. So the display size of the 16 Pro Max was increased just a bit. It's now 6.9 inches as opposed to the previous 6.7 inches that the 15 Pro Max was. And while it is noticeable when you compare the 16 Pro Max to the 15 Pro Max side by side, I can honestly say when using the 16 Pro Max in the hand, it doesn't feel any larger or bulkier than the 15 Pro Max was. This is partially due to the fact that the 16 Pro Max now has a lot thinner bezels, so they're able to fit more screen to body ratio in the device without increasing the overall footprint of the device by that much. But it's also just not that much of a display increase. Having this slightly higher amount of screen real estate doesn't really feel like an upgrade or a downgrade. I honestly just barely notice it. But this is a welcome change, as chances are if you're going for the Pro Max iPhone, you probably want every last millimeter of screen real estate that you can get. And speaking of those thinner bezels, they look absolutely incredible. We're pretty much at a full edge-to-edge screen experience on the iPhone. And honestly, one of the most underrated features that's available on all new iPhone 16 models is the fact that the display can now go all the way down to 1 nit, so it can get dimmer than any previous iPhone has been able to get, and in pitch black environments, it is noticeable, as you can see here compared side by side to a 15 Pro Max. This will be great for those moments when you're in the dark and the phone's lowest setting still seems too bright. This will get it just a little bit dimmer. Also, the front display glass on the 16 Pros features Apple's latest generation ceramic shield, which is 50% tougher than the first generation ceramic shield that the 15 Pros have. So hopefully it'll be more resilient in terms of shattering. Of course, you should keep in mind that with percentage claims like this, I'm sure the testing that was done depends on a whole host of factors, but nonetheless, any improved durability is always a nice change to see. In terms of battery performance, the 16 Pro Max features a larger 4,685 mAh battery in comparison to the 15 Pro Max's 4,441 mAh battery. This, in combination with battery optimizations and improved power management, makes the iPhone 16 Pro Max have improved battery performance over the 15 Pro Max. Apple actually went out of their way to state that the iPhone 16 Pro Max has quote-unquote the best iPhone battery life ever, and this was reflected in my own battery testing, and many others have reported similar things. From what I'm seeing, people either have better battery performance with the 16 Pro Max over the 15 Pro Max, or somewhere close to the same. So no complaints here, as the 15 Pro Max's battery performance was already really good. And speaking of the battery, the 16 Pros support faster charging. For wireless charging, you can now charge at up to 25 watts if you're using Apple's new MagSafe charger, as opposed to the previous maximum at 15 watts with the 15 Pro Max and the older MagSafe charger. And for wired charging, you can now charge at up to 30 watts if you're using a 30 watt or above power adapter, as opposed to the previous maximum of 25 watts, so just a very small increase there. And the 16 Pros now have 4 studio quality microphones, resulting in clearer sounding audio in comparison to the 15 Pros. And these higher quality microphones in the 16 Pros allow for a neat new feature in voice memos that allows you to layer tracks on top of each other. This is going to be most useful for musicians who, for example, might have a guitar track and want to layer a vocal track on top of it. So as much as most people probably won't have a use case for this, I think this could be a game changer for musicians. However, just like the Apple Intelligence features, this feature unfortunately isn't here yet on the iPhone 16 Pro models. It's coming later in a future software update. So again, definitely disappointing to see even more features that are announced with these iPhone 16 models not shipping at launch. And speaking of audio, for video recording, some nice new audio improvements that are coming to all iPhone 16 models are wind noise reduction. You could also now capture spatial audio for videos, which will create a more immersive experience when listening back on AirPods, your Apple Vision Pro, or your home sound system. And also audio mix that'll use machine learning to separate the vocals of people talking from background noise, allowing for some really neat options. My favorite of which being studio mode, which will reduce reverb and attempt to make it sound like you're in a professionally soundproofed recording studio. So here's a video recorded just in a standard room with the 16 Pro Max, a room that isn't soundproofed, in standard mode. Now I'm going to turn on studio mode and you can instantly hear the difference. The reverb is significantly reduced and it sounds like I'm in a professional soundproofed recording studio. So as much as it's far from perfect, I think it's very impressive, and for people that don't have access to soundproofed rooms and want higher quality sounding audio, I think this is going to be very useful. So the reason I think the 16 Pro Max is one of the most pro iPhones ever is the fact that the only features that are exclusive to the 16 Pros this year are pretty niche use case features that only pros would be interested in. And by pro, I mean either someone who's just really interested in tech or someone who's really interested in videography or audio recording on the iPhone. The majority of the new features that Apple's marketing for the iPhone 16 are available on both the Pro iPhone 16s and the standard iPhone 16s, including the camera control button, full Apple Intelligence support, the new audio mix feature. There really is only a handful of features that are exclusive to the 16 Pros this year, and the average person probably isn't going to ever need any of these features. 4K at 120 frames per second video recording is nice, but again, most people probably aren't going to touch that. The improved 48 megapixel ultra wide lens is nice, but most people who aren't into photography probably won't notice the difference. Even the additional third telephoto zoom lens that enables up to 5 times optical zoom is, again, nice to have, but since the standard iPhone 16 models feature up to 2 times optical zoom, that's going to be fine for most people. And the ProMotion 120Hz display refresh rate on the 16 Pros is nice and makes animations smoother, but most people that aren't into tech don't even know what that means. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, this year, rather than just holding back a couple flashy features for the 16 Pros, they gave every iPhone 16 pretty much all the main new features while reserving some more niche use case scenario Pro features for the Pro iPhones. So honestly, unless one or more of the Pro exclusive features are very important to you, if you're looking for a new large screened iPhone right now, rather than spending $1,199 for the 16 Pro Max, I'd recommend getting the 16 Plus instead for $899 and saving $400, as the 16 Plus probably has everything you really need and want, unless you're a tech enthusiast like me who just likes having the latest and greatest, of course. But honestly, I'm just happy to see the Pro iPhone name starting to actually mean Pro. And guys, that just about wraps it up for this video. Let me know your thoughts on the iPhone 16 Pro Max in the comments down below. Thank you all so much for watching, and of course, as always, I'll catch you in the next one. Peace out.